For those of you with younger brothers and sisters, you will often hear them making silly mistakes as they attempt to get to grasp with the English language. That's why you'll hear, as in this example, drink your milk, Mary, I drinked milk. You will hear children adding a t or id sound at the end of the verb, not knowing, for example, that it's an irregular verb. Similarly, in this example, children will often repeat what they hear their parents say. So parents will often tap themselves and say me, and say things like kick the ball to me. And when the child does as they're asked, they add me to the start and say me kicked the ball or me kicked the ball. As per the previous example, children will then develop their language skills and replace me with their own name before they're able to replace that with I. So this example, kick the ball, John, or John kick the ball. The child will repeat what they hear and say things like John kicked the ball or John kicked the ball, but it's often the kicked the ball that they will say before they fine-tune their English language. So many of us find learning a second language difficult and often think of how easy English is. But if you have younger brothers and sisters in the house, you will often hear examples of what we have here. And that's how children grasp or struggle to grasp the different complexities in English, particularly the vast number of irregular verbs. Now, irregular verbs are those verbs that don't follow the pattern. So we know to form the past tense in English, we add that ed, that t or id sound at the end of a verb. And that's why, as in this exchange, you'll hear a mum asking the child to be careful. The child falls and then says, me falded and cutted my knee. That they don't know that fall becomes fell and cutted isn't the word that you can use. So this just shows you the complexity and actually the difficulty of the English language that you will see isn't the case in Irish. Okay, let's look at this simple sentence and break it down. So for example, we have John is the subject, the person doing the action. In this occasion, the verb is kick and the object is the ball. English is widely known as an SVO language. That means that the subject comes first, followed by the verb and the object. And that's just a very simple way of getting an overview of the English language. The important thing to remember is the change to the verb in the past tense happens at the end of the verb on most occasions, unless of course it's an irregular verb, and often it can be completely changed. Now let's look at the Irish language. If you think back to your first ever class in Irish in year 8, we look at the commands in the classroom. For example, Sha suas, stand up. So to put Sha suas in the past tense to say I stood up, not I standed up, because stood is an irregular verb in English, we use the term has. Me suas. Has is the past tense for shas. We then put the subject in, which is me, which is I, after the verb. So the verb becomes has me suas. And unlike English, the change happens at the start of the verb and not the end. So Sha suas, stand up. I stood up became has me suas. Here we have another example based from our first topic in Gaeilge the Shomaranga. Tog and mala. Tog and mala, lift the bag. And to put that in the past time in Irish, again we start with the verb, followed by the person doing the action. On this occasion it's me for I, and then an mala, which is the object. So tog and mala becomes hog me and mala. Hog me and mala. I lifted the bag. Again, the change happens at the start. And you'll also notice with a lot of these, when we have a H after the first letter, the consonant at the start, that can often be silent. Hog me. So let's break this down and let's look at the difference, particularly between English and Irish. Hog is the verb in the past tense. That's doing the action. The subject comes next, may, and then the object at the end. And we also notice, as I repeated, that the change to the verb happens at the start, not at the end. So it wouldn't be may, hogue and mala. That doesn't make any sense in Irish. A bit like saying me lifted the bag doesn't make any sense in English. So hogue, may and mala is your correct sentence. Verb first, subject or person doing the option. So that might be hogue and Moonshore and mala. The teacher lifted the bag. So the subject would change based on who the subject is. For this reason, we see that Irish is known as a VSO language. Verb first, subject followed by the object. And the change to the verb happens at the beginning and not the end as it is in English.